Well, you can't sit around and worry about it. You make your moves. You depend on the Lord. We do the best we can and hope that there are going to be so many people wide awake that they won't know who to come after. And hope that the troops and the police remember that their oath is not to support the government, but to support the Constitution. And we got an awful lot of traitors in Washington, D.C., who've sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution, and they hate it because it limits their power, and it's all about power and wealth, and, of course, their allegiance to another God. Hey, thanks so much for calling, Michael. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye. And this is Dr. Stan. Of course, our guest is Bob Chapman. We're talking about what's going on financially. The whole house of cards is coming down. The quicksand's beginning to tremble as the foundations of the American economic system are beginning to gradually just descend into destruction. Our telephone number is 1-888-24-LIBERTY, 1-888-24-LIBERTY, or 464-8295. Somebody just commented, one of the biggest banks in the Netherlands, DBS, I think it is, or DBL, was recently taken over by the central bank there. And, of course, a lot of big banks throughout the whole entire world are actually going down. That's that was the DSB Bank. It takes over the DSB Bank 7 hours ago, and that's, of course, in the Netherlands. So if you have a question for Bob, 1-888-24-LIBERTY or 464-8295. But before we go on, Bob, I want to tell our listeners how they can get information on the International Forecaster and how they can subscribe if they'd like to.
Well, the forecast is about business, finance, economics, and social and political issues all over the world. We publish by email twice a week, usually about 40 pages each time, and we have a hard copy that goes out twice a month for those who are not on the Internet. You can get a free introductory copy of either by going to our site, theinternationalforecaster.com. That's theinternationalforecaster.com. Our email address, if you want to write, ask a question, we answer everybody. That address is Bob, B-O-B, at INTFORECASTER.com. That's Bob at intforecaster.com. Or you can call toll-free 800-375-4188. That's 800-375-4188.
All right, fine. Well, let's go to Frank, who's calling us from New Mexico. Well, I guess we'll have Frank on here in just a moment or two. There, no, it's not quite yet. Anyway, of course, as we see the whole structure of the world financial system going down, most of the banks in the world are insolvent. And even our largest banks are insolvent. But what's even more frightening is our own government is insolvent. There's no way, of course, you can ever actually pay back the money that it owes. It's got a massive debt. Medicare is a Ponzi scheme. It's based upon the money coming in, paying the debts of the money going out. But the money's not coming in. So many people have been laid off. We're talking 25, 30 million people unemployed or unemployed. They're not putting the money into the system. And this is why Barack Obama has said, I cannot control federal spending unless I can control Medicare spending. That's why they've got to put in this new system and start simply withholding care from the elderly. It's what it's all about. But, of course, they cannot tell the American people that. And, of course, they're not really worried about the rest of the people. They're worried about getting Medicare to control right now, Social Security. I mean, it would have lasted for a long time if they'd acted responsibly and hadn't spent all of the trust fund. And, of course, I don't know whether, I believe, of course, Social Security would be insolvent. If it's not already insolvent, it's going to be insolvent by next year. And they'll be putting out more than they're taking in. Well, where do you get the money? Well, it's the general fund. There is no money in the general fund. We're borrowing $5 billion a day. What are people going to understand? that our government is the largest debtor nation in the world. And you can't spend yourself into prosperity, no matter what President Obama says. And the fact that he would get the Nobel Peace Prize for the great job he's done in Afghanistan, in Iraq, shows you we live in a world entirely stark, raving mad. Let's go to Frank from New Mexico. Hi, Frank. How you doing?
Oh, great. Just enjoying your show. It's super as always. And Mr. Chapman on, it's just top of the mark. I'd like to ask Mr. Chapman a question. I've been a subscriber to your newsletter for the last 2 years, real happy with the results it produced. As far as I have a large holding in mutual funds. You think I ought to cash those things out into hard assets, Bob?
Without question.
I knew the answer. I knew
way overpriced. It rallied 60% on hot air. The earnings are not going to be there. The leader on the way up has been the financial stocks. The earnings are starting to come out for the third quarter. They're not going to be very good. In the fourth quarter, they'll be worse. And in the second and third quarters of next year, they'll be dreadful, truly dreadful. And the FASB is going to start enforcing, I forget the numbers, FASB 66 and 67 or something like that. And what it is no more marking to model. All these companies, banks, brokerage firms, they got to mark to the market. What's the difference? Well, marking to the market is viable, tradable, current prices. I own 1,000 of this and it's selling for $30. Well, that's what goes on the balance sheet. Marking to model is marking to fantasy. It allows them to guess what they think it might be. And that's going to end. And all of those toxic assets that they've got off balance sheet are going to have to be brought on balance sheet. So this coming year, the honeymoon is going to be over, and you do not, under any circumstances, want to be in mutual funds or the stock market unless you're in gold and silver related assets, and that's it.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question? I wish Bob were so equivocal. I wish he'd come right out and say what he believes. No, I think you got good advice. And remember, I'm not...
It works so far, and if you need any further help, all you have to do is email me, tell me what state you live in, and send your phone number, and I will call you.
Okay, Bob.
I will help you make those decisions, and it doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah. Well, I've never called, but I love the newsletter for the last 2 years, so I'll call you up for more details. Thank you very much for the show, Doctor.
You're more than welcome, and I love the newsletter, too. I always look forward to it. Well, let's go to Jim calling from West Virginia. Hi, Jim. How are you doing?
Oh, this is wonderful. I've spoken with you gentlemen many times. I'm going to say 4 words in a row. International Property Maintenance Code. International Property Maintenance Code. When are you guys going to run with that story? It's the second biggest financial scam in U.S. history. It's bigger than Watergate. It's bigger than the banker bailout. When are you guys going to run with that story? I love you.
I don't quite understand. You understand, Bob? I'm going to let you take that question.
Well, we've discussed this before in this program with the same gentleman. And what it is
theft.
That the states and cities and counties supposedly have large amounts of assets that they're not showing to the public. And
No.
Well, then you should have explained it then.
I'm sorry if I didn't explain it correctly. I apologize a million times. Listen, it's raw property theft. They can steal your property for any reason whatsoever. They can take your property. They can tear your buildings down and send you a bill. Gentlemen, I beg you, please. I'm a total failure, but please read the International Property Maintenance Code and run with the story.
Could I suggest, Jim, that you send me something? RadioLiberty.com. That's RadioLiberty.com. Email me information. We'll take a look at it.
I've tried it. Stop my emails. International Property Maintenance Code. Google it. start page, International Property Maintenance Code. God, I love you guys.
All right, fine. Thank you so much for calling.
Run with it.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye. Okay, that was Jim from West Virginia, the International Property Code, and our telephone number again is 1-888-24-LIBERTY, 1-888-24-LIBERTY, or 464-8295 here in the Central Coast of California. And basically, of course, the International Forecaster tells you what's going on in the world. Of course, the most amazing thing is they've actually, somewhere, they got about $12.03 trillion, $12.3 trillion. They're giving it to their buddies in Europe, they're giving it to the banks in Europe, they're giving it to the central banks all over the world. Why, they're even giving a little bit to our banks here. But we don't know what they're doing with the money.